Hi everybody, I'm sitting on the floor only because I want you to see my beautiful new cabinet. Well, I've always had the cabinet, but it was full of books, and now I have taken out the books, filled up a couple of charity bags, and the rest of the books are in another bookcase. So instead we are just frags on this lovely display. Anyway, that's not what this video is about. It's about Venetian Bergamot from Tom Ford. It's a private blend, so it's one of the pricier ones. I've had this bottle, I got it on Valentine's Day from Mr. Smelly back in February, so I had it a little while. It's one of my favourites. It's definitely up there in my top 10 fragrances, close to the top 5 actually. Anyway, I've already just sprayed it, so I'm going to spray a little bit more on the arm that's holding up the camera. There. And I'm going to give you a review because I don't think I've actually done that just yet. I've mentioned it a few times. So when you first spray it on, you do get a very tart citrus smell. Now to me it actually smells more like a lime rather than necessarily a bergamot. It smells like a kind of sharp lime, like you might get from Virgin Island water a little bit. But obviously you don't get the other stuff from Virgin Island water, of course. But definitely a very sharp lime, backed up with some other citruses that just kind of give us a very fresh and sharp and tart feel. It brings to mind a big glass of like a mocktail, you know. There's no alcohol smell, but lots of different fruits merging together, mostly citrus fruits, and definitely a limey kind of feel, which I guess is probably just coming from the bergamot. But anyway, let's have another sniff. It's ever so slightly sweet in the opening, but not a lot of sweetness. I don't really pick out anything necessarily floral at this point. Possibly some kind of vanilla type sweetness, but not an obvious just straight up vanilla note. Something a little bit smooth in there along with the sharpness. It's really, really good. Probably more suitable to warm days or summer evenings, but today is September. What is it? We're at the end of September. I think it's the 28th. Could even be the 29th. Who knows? It's a Friday though. I'm getting a bit sweaty, look, oh my gosh. Anyway, so I'm going to come back to you and give you updates throughout the day on how this one develops and how long it lasts, etc, etc. So see you all later. Hiya, I'm back. Sorry about the wind, but I had curry. Only kidding, of course, I did actually have curry, but I'm sorry about the wind, and I do hope that it's not interfering with the sound quality too much. Anywho, we are back with Venetian Bergamot update. Lunchtime now, so it's about 1:30ish, and it's been doing very well. I've been able to notice it on myself all morning long. What I've noticed is it has descended from being ultra fresh, ultra zesty, lime-like. Almost, I was thinking, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Virgin Island water. Not that you get the coconut, but it does smell very limey. And I don't think there's lime in the notes, but it does smell very limey to me. And I would actually say it smells a little bit like a mojito, but a sweeter mojito. Imagine you was making a mojito for a child. You put extra sugar syrup and you take out the rum. Kind of smells a little bit like that. But then it becomes, as sort of an hour or so passes, on my hand over here, that was sprayed an hour ago, and you do still have quite a lot of the freshness, and it kind of smells like a green fruity fragrance. So still pretty fresh after the first hour, but on here is what we sprayed hours ago, and that's really a much more mellow in that it's lost its zingy fresh sharpness, and now it's there's a lot more sweet stuff going on. So it smells a little bit like you've got ylang ylang bushes around you, and the pollen is floating in the breeze, mixing in with a more mellow limey bergamot scent. And also there's definitely something that's a little bit vanillic, could almost be a little bit like a touch of labdanum in there, or something a little bit sweet and sticky but not too much. Sorry, there's a fly on my finger, it's gone now. So what I've also done is refreshed the, I've just spritzed my hand again so I can compare, and it really is quite different, the opening to what we've got now. And I love it at both stages, or all stages, because obviously it doesn't go from one to the other, it just slowly, mellowly kind of gets there. So now on my skin we are of course a few hours in, so 7:30, 8:30, 9:30, 10:30, 11:30, 12:30, 6 hours in as per usual, 6 hours in, and it is still very present, but as I say, a bit powdery, a little bit more floral, but you still do have that bergamot and that fresh greeny kind of sweet fruit thing going on. I think that it's unisex, but that some men may not be okay with the floral powdery aspect that is now in there. And I do remember when this first came out, quite a few YouTube reviewers, the men, felt that it was a touch on the feminine side for them. I can see why they might think that, but I don't think that it's too feminine at all. Particularly the first hour or two, there's nothing feminine at all about it, but I do understand that when it dries down, it does get a little bit vanillic and a little bit floral powdery, and that might be off-putting for some guys. But overall, I do think it's universal. I do not see how anyone could dislike this fragrance. It's quite mass appealing, but it is a bit different from what's out there on the shelves of you know, the usual designer gumph that you get. I love it. It's right up there. As I said earlier, it's in definitely in my top 10, almost in my top 5 of everything I own. And in terms of Tom Ford, it's probably in my top 2. It just tips Soleil Blanc. I love Soleil Blanc, but that's not as versatile because it's quite sweet and very girly. And with Venetian Bergamot, I can wear anywhere, anytime, any place quite happily. So I think that just the versatility of it means it's up there, probably in joint position with Neroli Portofino as my favourite Tom Ford. If you like Xerjoff 1861, if you like Gorse from Laboratory Perfumes or Virgin Island Water, I think this is one to check out because it's fresh, but it's got a sweet edge, but it's not too sweet. And it's a very natural smelling fragrance as well, and it's not thick, cloying or heavy. It has a lightness and a transparency which I really love, so I'm in love with it. That's all I can say. I'll just come back to you a little bit later on briefly just to let you know the longevity I get today from it. Today is a slightly breezy late September day. The sun is kind of trying to get through quite a thick cloud. There's a little bit of warmth, but I would say it's early fall kind of a day, and that's how we're judging it on its performance. I think the weather can definitely have an impact on how a fragrance performs. So we'll come back to you a little bit later. See you in a bit. Hi, yeah, so I'm back. It's 4:30 now, so the fragrance has been on for... Can't be right, can it? Okay, so it was at 6 hours at 1:30, 2:30, 3:34, so another 3 hours on. The fragrance has been on for 9 hours, and it is still projecting. It is still very noticeable when I move around, when I do this. Now I can smell it. I'm not having to really search for it. If I sort of think to myself, do I still smell my fragrance? I literally just shake a little bit. And I'm like, yeah, still smell it. It's on my wrists. This is from 7:30 this morning. And I do notice that when I spray my wrists and my arms, the fragrance isn't as strong there, and it doesn't quite project as much as it does from around this area. But I can still smell it. It's kind of gone quite sweet and caramelised on my skin, which is really nice. But I'm getting a lot more from up here. And then of course I did a very fresh spray, or say very fresh, a few hours ago. I did one there, and that is of course still quite noticeable. But I am really impressed with Venetian Bergamot. I've never really paid too much attention to the longevity. I knew it was good, but I never actually tested it, you know, and made notes or anything. So 9 hours in, the fact that it's actually still projecting fairly noticeable, I think is amazing. Excellent performance, and I just think it's a really top quality fragrance. That's my opinion. I really love it, and I actually think it's worth the money. Hiya, so final update then on Venetian Bergamot. It's now 6:30, so we are talking 11 hours in, and I have to say it is still going fairly strong. I know there are going to be disbelievers out there, but I honestly can tell you, maybe because it's still on my clothes as well, but I just have to move a little bit and I can smell it. Now I have to admit I did do probably around about 10 sprays in the end, because after I filmed my first part of the video, I did do some extra sprays straight away around here, on the back of my neck. There might be a little bit in my hair, a few up each arm, but honestly it's still now projecting a little bit. So in terms of performance, it is absolutely amazing. For a fairly fresh fragrance, I am blown away by the excellent performance of that. I wore it to my friend Rav and my friends Rav and Darren's wedding a few weeks ago, and I wore it for the day, and I intended to wear a different fragrance for the evening, thinking it would wear off. But when Mr. Smelly turned up for the evening part, it was still going really strong, and I didn't feel like applying anything extra because it was still going so strong then. I did in the end just because I felt like wearing something different. I just sprayed something on top, but the performance is outstanding of Venetian Bergamot on my skin anyway, and it smells really good. So I recommend, if you haven't tried it, check it out. Don't be put off by some of the negative reviews that you might come across, because there definitely are a few people out there that don't think it's all that, but it's all down to taste. And I think if you like something that's fresh, a little bit sweet but not really sweet, and citrusy but with a bit more going on, turns a bit powdery, a touch floral but remains fresh as well, then it could be your thing. Thank you for watching.